Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with another horror retro review. This time focusing on the 1999 remake of House on Haunted Hill. House on Haunted Hill was the first film released through Dark Castle Productions, which was in cooperation, of course, with Warner Brothers, as most of their films were released. The initial idea of Dark Castle Productions was to remake William Castle's horror movies. William Castle having been a filmmaker in the 50s and 60s who went for showmanship and theatricality. Usually going so far as to have specialized gadgets installed into the theaters that would be showing his films, just to add to the movie watching experience. The original came out in 1959 and starred Vincent Price. It's not so much. It's not a supernatural horror movie. I think it would probably fall more to the category of like a psychological thriller nowadays. I think you have basically a rich couple offers a bunch of people money to stay in a house all night, a supposedly haunted house all night. But the wife is secretly trying to kill the husband, and so yeah. And she's set up traps to, hope in the hopes that someone will be driven crazy enough to, and things have been set up in such a manner as to hopefully push one of the party guests over the edge, and have them kill her husband. In some ways, I kind of feel like this is more of an homage than a remake, because it is a supernatural. It is a truly supernatural horror movie. It is a haunted house movie. It's set in an abandoned asylum, and the ghosts of the doctor, the staff, and the patients, as well as some evil, some not truly defined evil within the building, is what the characters have to face. But you do still have a lot of the same elements, like our cast of characters have been brought together to celebrate the birthday of rich man's wife, and he's basically said, okay, well, here's the deal. You guys stay the night. Each of you gets $1 million. Anyone who leaves before morning, well, your share of the money is divvied up between those who stick around. If only one of you is left in the morning, well, hey, $5 million. But yeah, overall the movie is a fun and messed up horror movie with a fairly solid cast and some fairly decent effects for the time. Some which have aged, some have aged fairly well. Some did not age well at all. But yeah, the movie also just doesn't overstay its welcome. It gets its story told quickly and promptly. It doesn't try to bog you down with anything extra. It's just, okay, here's the story. Story points are explained in a manner that are relevant to the story. And speaking of the cast, we've got Jeffrey Rush as Stephen Price, an amusement park mogul who's very much a showman, such as along the lines of, say, William Castle. I know his name is a nod to Vincent Price. I think the way he's characterized is supposed to be a nod to Castle. I'm not certain on that, but yeah. And I'm sure there's something that actually does clarify that, but yeah. We got Famke Janssen as Evelyn Stockard Price. Stephen's wife, more interested in his money than in him. Taye Diggs as Eddie Baker, a former pro baseball player. Peter Gallagher as Dr. Blackburn. He's a physician and secretly Evelyn's lover. It is stated at one point that Evelyn is not exactly faithful. We get Chris Kattan as Wilson Pritchett. First off, yeah, Chris Kattan was actually a thing for a little while in the 90s and early 2000s, thanks to his various characters on Saturday Night Live, as well as including the Roxbury guys and the movie that was spawned from that sketch somehow. But yeah, there was a point where people were trying to make him into a somewhat of a big thing, and to be fair, his performance is actually really solid in this movie. Very dry, darkly humorous. Also, kind of the hey, I know. Maybe you should listen to me because I know what the hell is going on, kind of, sorta. But yeah, he's the owner of the titular house. He is thoroughly convinced that it is alive and evil and trying to kill him and anyone else that sets foot inside. Ali Larter as Sarah Wolf, a former production assistant masquerading as her former boss, an executive vice president of a film company named Jennifer Jensen. Jensen is played in a few deleted scenes by Debbie Mazar. And in fact, the two versions of the scene showing her getting the invitation were both cut, and they do. As much as I do enjoy them, I can see them actually kind of slowing the movie's pace down. So, yeah, but and basically you see her demanding a cut on a film because it's just boring. The movie being shot is just boring. And then Sarah comes up, hey, messenger brought this. Oh, what is it? I don't know. And then, so Jensen looks at it, cuts her finger. Oh, Sarah laughs, like, oh, you think that's funny? You're fired. Here's your severance package. And she, says, oh, okay, well, we'll go for we'll do that. And so she assumes the identity of her boss to, potentially collect on $1 million or more. There's also a scene at the end which, to be perfectly honest, without the previous scene establishing Jennifer Jensen, the scene at the end wouldn't work anyway. But basically, she shows up. Apparently she's inherited the house and okay. So she goes in and you hear her scream and realize, one of the ghosts just basically, contacted her and was like, hey, and fed her to the house. And you got Bridget Wilson as Melissa Marr, a former TV personality looking to find a new angle to get back on TV. And finally, Jeffrey Combs as Dr. Vaniket, the ghost of the warden of the Vaniket Institute for the Criminally Insane, and who was thoroughly crazy and psychotic. The beginning of the film goes into what some of the things he did, and we do briefly. And in fact, at the beginning of the film, we also get to see the only moments in the film where he's not a ghost. And it's the moments leading to his death. But the movie begins with the night in October when the inmates basically revolted and took over the asylum. As this was starting, Vaniket turns on the lockdown, locking the place down. Basically, kind of if I'm going to die, the patients are dying with me, kind of thing. But Evelyn sees this and calls up Stephen to tell him that she's figured out that's where she wants to do her birthday party this year. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Meanwhile, Stephen is showing off a new roller coaster. This is kind of where the whole thing with him being kind of similar in some ways to William Castle comes in. He explained the reporter, played by Lisa Loeb, and her cameraman, played by James Marsters, Spike from Buffy, are just kind of like, okay, this looks like a normal roller coaster. And then he says, well, how many roller coasters start at the top? 20 stories worth of top. And so they take an elevator up, and then suddenly the elevator stops, and then it seems to be doing a free fall, and it's all part of the gag. There's also another part of the gag where there's another car on the track that comes off and seemingly die, and leading to everyone dying in the car, dying horribly. But yeah. So Evelyn sends a guest list to Steven, and he shreds it. Has invitations out to a group of people. However, when he leaves his office, his email saying who to send the invitations to pops up. The names are all erased, and then new names begin to appear. And so later on, we see our cast arrive at the house. The Prices are already inside. They meet Pritchett, who wants to get them to the house quickly, mainly so he can just get paid and go home. Things are set up early on with the characters, who they are, and we discover that Price didn't invite them. And they're not Evelyn's guest list either. So, yeah. Something weird is going on. But and then the lockdown goes into effect. Price goes to talk to one of his amusement park employees who's kind of supposed to be controlling, keeping an eye on things, controlling any of the little gags that Price has got set up throughout the house. He explains that the lockdown wasn't him. It just happened. So they're trying to, so they begin exploring the house a bit to try and figure out how to undo the lockdown. And weird things begin happening, and Melissa disappears, leaving a pool of blood that seems to vanish into one of the walls in the basement. Her camera shows part of this, including her being dragged away rather swiftly from a pool of blood, but yeah, it doesn't show her or who was dragging her. Well, it shows her hand, but yeah. As things go on, tensions rise, and eventually it appears as though Evelyn is murdered. And the most likely suspect is Steven. So he gets placed in a sensory deprivation chamber of Vanikit's design. Gets turned on and supposed to. And we learn that this is actually the point when we learn that Blackburn is Evelyn's lover, and in fact, this was actually a plot. This was them plotting behind the scenes. She actually knew he was going to be there, but she didn't know about the rest. So Blackburn resuscitates her, and they're talking about she tests out her shocked confession to the police. What? My husband's dead? Oh no! I was just playing a joke on him. Oh my God! They thought. Oh no! But Blackburn does mention that. Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of on edge and fairly certain that Steven killed Evelyn. but no one's certain. Maybe it was the house. And so when they kind of just need another body with Stephen's bloody handprints right there. And so Evelyn kills Blackburn, cuts off his head, and sticks his body in the sensory deprivation chamber. And so then oh, well, obviously Price killed Blackburn, cut off his head, blah, blah, blah. Early on, guns were handed out to everyone with magazines welded shut, so that basically you got one magazine worth of ammo. But Sarah shoots Price and hit her, Pritchett, and Eddie make their way out. However, Evelyn finds him and starts to gloat over his dead body, and then, he planned for something like that, so he wearing a bulletproof vest. And the two of them finally, Stephen has snapped. He is about ready to kill Evelyn. Pushes her into a room through a rotting door. Then he starts to look around in the room and he notices that there's something in there. Something moving. And he actually does try to save Evelyn, but he realizes he's just woken up the evil at the core of the house, and So he escapes he eventually escapes the basement, but the evil gets Pritchett, and they make their way to the attic. Price is killed by the evil within the house. Sarah manages to escape as they've somewhat pulled up one of the shutters, but metal shutters, and then Pritchett's ghost appears and raises it up again. So Eddie, having just revealed he was actually adopted, and so technically he really doesn't have, only by family name does he have anything to do with what's happening here. Yes, that was another plot point. I should have written that one down. The guests, it turns out, are the descendants of the 5 members of Vatican staff that were not present the night the asylum went up. Anywho, but the movie ends with Eddie and Sarah outside the building, and the cashier's checks are also right there too. So they're admittedly stuck overlooking the ocean, but they got the $5 million. And they survived the night. So yeah, it's not. It's a like I said. It's a fairly fun and kind of messed up horror movie with solid cast, decent effects for the time period, for the time it was released, and it actually is very well paced, and there's never a point where the movie slows down enough to truly bogs down. If at any time it slows down, it's more of a, hey, something crazy just happened, so we're gonna let you, the cast, process this while giving more exposition. Really, everyone did a bang-up job, and yeah. Oh, actually, there is also a post-credits scene where we see that Stephen and Evelyn are now trapped within the house, being tortured by the spirits of the inmates. But that's it for now. That's really all I got for the movie. Grading it, I would probably give it I don't know, 3.5 stars out of 5. There are much worse horror movies, especially from that era. There are much worse horror remakes. This is enjoyable. It It tells a story quickly. It never tries to go. It doesn't try to be more than it is, which is sometimes kind of nice. I mean, I don't mind when a movie. I don't really mind if a movie tries to be all, you know, if like a slasher movie was trying to be artsy. Okay, cool. If you can pull it off, by all means, do it. But this just tries to be, hey, it's a haunted house movie in a crazy in an asylum based on a William Castle picture. Have fun. Oh yeah, there's gonna be lots and lots of some. There's gonna be some pretty gruesome shit going on. But yeah, so yeah, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.